MMA is the mother of adrenaline sports, a game in which most of its participants are outliers in the general population. Despite the martial arts in mixed martial arts, fighters are not always known for their zen-like calm in victory or defeat. From iconic one-liners,
"How's that feel?" "Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers."
to awkwardness,
"Why'd you take your pants off?"
My balls was hot.
"I understand."
to surprising confessions in the heat of the moment.
I love you, man. You say something like this for me?
Some Octagon interviews have just stood out and kept us entertained for years. This is part 1 in a series of memorable post-fight interviews. In recent years, the UFC has broken into the mainstream. Thanks to social media, and Twitter in particular, modern UFC fighters grow fan bases that would otherwise not have been possible. Just ask this guy. After winning a fight in the UFC, Paul Buantello decided to see how many fans he had in the audience by saying the first half of his catchphrase.
Alright, I want to say one thing. See if I got some fans out here.
And having the crowd scream the second half.
You ready? Here we go. Don't fear me.
Buantello recovers pretty quickly, but needless to say, he never tried that again. When Stockton slugger Nate Diaz faced off against the Irish superstar Conor McGregor at UFC 196, many had a win by the notorious as a no-brainer. After all, the main reason that this unlikely matchup was made in the first place was because Conor's original opponent, then lightweight champion Rafael dos Anjos, pulled out of the fight because his foot was a balloon.
My foot was a balloon. My foot was a balloon.
While Diaz was interrupting his vacation in Cabo to step in on short notice as a nearly 4-1 underdog. After a fairly one-sided first round for McGregor, the granite chin Cesar Gracie product would rally in the second to win by rear naked choke. What happened next, of course, would make the fighter who Dana White had once said was not a needle mover into a bona fide mainstream star.
Nate Diaz, you just shook up the world. How's that feel? Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
And just like that, stunned casuals in the crowd who didn't already know who Nate was, now knew for sure. Not only had he upset the oddsmakers and the naysayers, his own boss included, but he also convinced whoever was watching that he expected this outcome all along. While on the surface they may seem worlds apart, pro wrestling and mixed martial arts have been intertwined for decades. Not only has the UFC had a champion who was a WWE superstar with a strong college wrestling background, but many MMA fighters have over the years adopted the theatrics that the squared circle has come to be associated with. Perhaps none more so than the American gangster himself, Chael Sonnen, who for months before his clash with Anderson Silva at UFC 117 had used his now legendary shooting skills on the mic to attack the Spider's homeland of Brazil as well as his teammates.
I think a black belt under the Nogueira brothers is saying I got a free toy in my Happy Meal.
As for the contest itself, much of the fight echoed the build-up, with Chael dominating Anderson but falling prey to a triangle choke in round 5 with barely a minute left on the clock. A now infamous positive test for elevated testosterone levels, as well as a suspension for a few months would follow, delaying the rematch that everyone wanted to see. But when Chael returned with an impressive W over Brian Stann, he offered up one of the most legendary, over-the-top post-fight callouts we'd ever seen.
How happy are you with your performance tonight?
Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck. Calling you out, Silva, but we're up in the stakes. You beat me. I will leave the UFC forever.
Now, after an ultimatum like that, You'd expect Uncle Chael to stick to his word when the eventual rematch didn't go his way. But not only did he not quote-unquote leave the UFC forever, his very next fight was a title shot at light heavyweight. But of course Sonnen remains undefeated to this day. If you have been impressed with his performance, hit like and subscribe. And leave a comment about which interviews you'd like to see in part 2.
I'm very glad you won that fight, Matt, but I'm not impressed by your performance.